At 5 a.m. in the morning, most normal people, sleep while I test weapons. So we're gonna go a bit ASMR on this one. Hey guys, hello and welcome back. As always, my name is Laser, and today we're gonna be diving deeper into this MR6 secondary weapon, the Plinx. I'm gonna be showcasing a couple of builds, something cheap and affordable, something anybody can build, but of course we also have the classic endgame setup with a Riven. That being said though, please keep in mind that my builds and guides take a new player friendly approach, simply because there's a lot of info here and I want anybody watching to understand how the weapon functions and how it should be built. But you might be a veteran of the game and not interested in all this new player hoopla. In that case, you can either skip ahead or have a bit of patience. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Plinx. Let's begin by quickly taking a look at how the Plinx handles without any mods equipped, and for that we're simply going to be taking a couple of free shots. You're getting a magazine of 10, at the end of which the Plinx will automatically recharge its battery, so it doesn't have any ammo reserves, you have infinite ammo. But once again, you are capped at 10 magazine size, and you're looking at a recharge rate at about 10 ammo per second, so in just a second you're going to be able to get your full ammo back. Now pay attention to the sound for just a second. It has an audio cue letting you know that the weapon will start recharging, and it's pretty clear when it stops as well. So there is that to take into account. No visual cue, but there is an audio cue. And that's pretty much it. Let's jump into stats to see precisely what we're dealing with. Mod capacity is going to be 60 out of 60, and if your Plinx has only 30 out of 30, jump into actions and install the Arcane Catalyst. This one can be found from alerts, invasions, or if you're lucky, from the daily sortie. And you can also pay 20 plat to have one installed. Keep an eye out after dev streams, usually they have some alerts going on or invasions right after dev stream that give you either an Arcane Catalyst or an Arcane Reactor. My weapon has been formatted a total of 6 times, and this is a bit of a problem with the Plinx because it doesn't come with any default polarities. Now the build itself doesn't require 6 format, definitely not, but I only did it to test various mod combinations. I would recommend you put in 3 V symbols and 1 dash and see at the end of which if you need any more. It should be good by that point. The accuracy, as you saw, was absolutely fantastic, an accuracy of 50 with a sky high critical chance of 32% and a super high crit multi at 3.0x. Only the new core has a larger critical multiplier than this when it comes to secondary weapons. Fire rate is a tad on the sluggish side, you got 3.43, but again you're gonna bump into that nasty recharge time if you go overboard with fire rate. Magazine of 10, noise alarming of course, a reload of 0.8 seconds. Now, the thing about it is that you are reloading after 0.2 seconds delay, and then 0.8 will be the getting your ammo back and all whatnot, so bear that one in mind. The Riven disposition is gonna be 3 out of 5. Now this is the default Riven disposition the developer awards any brand new weapon. Status chance 4%. Wow. This is the weapon's biggest weak point, because if this had like 15 or 20% status chance, it would have been probably one of the strongest secondary weapons in the game. But as is, you'll see that the Plinx will still be able to perform well-ish considering MR6. Let's take a look at the damage. We got default heat and puncture. Puncture is fantastic when it comes to heavily armored targets as it deals extra damage. The status proc simply means that your target will be dealing less damage to you. As for heat, it is good in certain mod combinations, and the status proc will simply set enemies ablaze, which has 2 components, one a damage over time component and second the crowd control component. Now I already have a full build lineup, so let's take a look. We got damage with Hornet Strike, multi-shot with Battle Diffusion, Lethal Torrent, critical chance, critical damage with Pistol Gambit, Hydraulic Crosshairs, and Target Cracker. Now, if you don't have hydraulic crosshairs, you can farm it from Loa Spy missions. It's very easy. All you need to have is a limbo. It doesn't even need to be max rank. Link in the cards right now. And we got an elemental combo of corrosive on the weapon formed with the 290 mods, pathogen rounds, and convulsion. Needless to say, it's pointless to go for the 60-60 mods on the Plinx as the base status chance is simply not all that high. So go as much as you can into critical chance and critical damage. When it comes to Lethal Torrent, I wanted to pause a second for this one. We're using it for the multi-shot, and it's still the best option around, especially considering that the Plinx is a tad on the sluggish side without that additional fire rate. But if you want to drop this and go further into critical damage with sharpened bullets, that wouldn't be a terrible idea. 75% critical damage, which is more than the standard version of Target Cracker. Now ideally what you want to have is Prime Target Cracker, but we're gonna test the weapon out like this to see what it's capable of. When it comes to elemental combos, if you're around MR6, you might be wondering why they use corrosive, toxin and electricity and not something else. Well, You're gonna have to learn slowly and surely, or whatever your pace is, what are the elemental combos in the game and what's the advantage to using one over another. For example, corrosive is fantastic against heavily armored targets. The Grenier, they have two armor types, Alloy, which is weak to radiation damage, and Ferrite armor, which is weak to corrosive damage. Corrosive normally has the edge over radiation in most cases simply because of the status proc, which means that it will be simply eating away at an enemy armor the more procs you get. It's kinda pointless to talk about status chance and status procs when it comes to the Plinx because of the status chance. Even with all the multi-shot I slapped on the weapon, my shot status chance is only 10.8%. So you gotta know exactly what is the damage resistance of your target and what elemental combo you should build. Various targets are weak to various elementals or elemental combos. For example, Ferrite armor will be taking 75% more damage from corrosive, and alloy armor will be taking 75% more damage from radiation. This is regardless of status procs and all whatnot, so bear that one in mind. Now let's test the weapon out like this and see what it can do. We're gonna be spawning in some really high level targets. Now these are level 120 corrupted heavy gunner. If you're MR6, I doubt you're gonna see these guys, but this will prove the worth of the Plinx. Now I'm gonna quickly reload, unload as many bullets as I can. And with a build such as this, it takes me about 3 clips to kill off one of these high level targets. Needless to say, critical chance without status chance is not much of anything. And take a look at the damage that I'm dealing now. I'm dealing 1400 on yellow and 2500 something on orange crits. That is because I got a status proc on the target. I got a corrosive proc. So therefore its armor is now lower. If I'm gonna hit this guy, which doesn't have a corrosive proc, you see 2100 only, and only after I corrosive proc it goes to 2700 and 1452. Now there is a big difference when it comes to critical weapons to the damage that you will be dealing with a body shot and a headshot, and that is because of how critical chance and critical multipliers work in Warframe. If you're using crit based weapons, pure crit weapons, then it matters a whole lot more to go for headshots than it is with status weapon. If you wanna understand exactly how critical chance and critical multipliers work in Warframe, link in the cards right now. It's a bit more convoluted than you might expect. As for the performance of the weapon, let's be honest for a second here. This isn't all that great, especially considering that after 10 shots you need to wait for that 1 second. Now a second doesn't seem like that long to wait, does it? Definitely not. But on the other hand, it kind of stops you from firing, so it can get a little bit annoying in actual gameplay. For the MR requirement of the weapon, I'm gonna be calling this decent. Good for MR6, but it's definitely not endgame worthy, definitely. If it had a magazine of 30 and I didn't have to stop firing all the time, perhaps then we could approach things a tad differently, but as it stands, it's mediocre at best. But of course I didn't stop here. I wanted to max out everything and see exactly what the weapon can do. Perhaps a Riven can fix it. Yes, so we have a Riven setup. Check this one out. Special thanks to Sneaky Ninja. Thanks a lot, man. He gave me a good deal on this one. It was unrolled and I rolled it 7 times. We got critical damage, electricity, and minus magazine capacity. When it comes to negatives on a Riven for a Plinx, I wouldn't call magazine capacity exactly harmless. Try to get something like, I wouldn't even call minus zoom, because again you do want headshots and the accuracy of the pistol supports that, so bear that one in mind. Try to get something like minus damage to infested or whatever. Now that critical damage will mean that in combination with prime target cracker, I'm getting a critical multiplier of 10x. Wow, awesome, isn't it? Absolutely bloody amazing. We also got electricity, which I'm gonna use to make corrosive in combination with pathogen rounds. Now there's a conversation to be had about hydraulic crosses versus target cracker. With prime pistol gambit, my critical chance goes to 91.8. It's still not up to 100. I still got about an 8% chance for my shot not to be a crit, and the only thing that the Plinx does is crit, so you do want to make sure you have that crit. Now if you're gonna open up spreadsheets and run calculations and all whatnot, the math might tell you that sharpened bullets gives you more damage than hydraulic crosshairs. But math is one thing and actual gameplay is another. From my point of view, I would go for the guaranteed critical chance that hydraulic crosshairs will provide every single time over a bit more damage. In the standard build, because you might be wondering, with hydraulic crosshairs you're going to 113% critical chance. So bear that one in mind. So we got a Riven, we got our prime mods. Let's see if the Plinx is any better. Yes, it is. Actually a lot better. And don't worry about Volt passive, it doesn't add much of anything. Look, see, sometimes it doesn't even reset when I fire with the Plinx. I don't know exactly why that is, but there you go. Now that was a whole lot better, wasn't it? But I also got lucky a little bit because I got a corrosive proc on the target. With Prime mods, Prime Pistol Gambit and Prime Target Cracker plus a Riven, the Plinx does become a much more powerful weapon. But again, are you willing to invest that much? Prime Pistol Gambit and Prime Target Cracker are mods that you should be getting anyway sooner or later. Not necessarily just for the Plinx, but for all the secondary weapons you're gonna be building. When it comes to a Riven for the Plinx, I checked out prices. Guys, the cheapest one was 100 and something plat. I'm sorry, not worth it from my point of view, not for the Plinx. For that 100 something plat, you can get Rivens for more powerful, let's say, secondary weapons. But if you love the weapon, then by all means, go for it. Try to prioritize, when it comes to a Plinx Riven, critical damage, critical chance, multi-shot, and whatever harmless negative you can find. That would be, from my point of view, the ideal Plinx Riven. Now there's one more thing which we can do, bump up everything with Warframe Buffs, and for that I could be using a whole bunch of frames, but I'm gonna use Lady Mirage Prime because I want to use Lady Mirage Prime. Now let's check out her build. Energy Siphon, now that won't do much of anything to you. What you can use is Pistol Lamp. Now this will grant you 27% extra damage to secondary weapons. It says pistols, but from what I know it applies it to all secondary weapons. Might be wrong on that one. 27% isn't that whole lot. You can also use Coaction Drift to pump up the value on this one. You can also use Corrosive Projection, which is guaranteed to give you better results if you know you're gonna be fighting Grenier, so bear that one in mind. Arcanes are a lot more impactful. What you can use is Arcane Precision. Now take a look at this one. It's a fantastic secondary weapon, Arcane on headshot, 80% chance for plus 120% damage to pistols for 8 seconds. It's a huge chance, fantastic uptime out of this one. What you can use for your second one, let's take a look at a couple of options. Velocity first. Arcane Velocity will give you fire rate. For what exactly? To bump them into the recharge time a whole lot more often. From my point of view, it's simply not worth. What you can use is Awakening. Now, Awakening gives you an on-reload effect. 40% chance for plus 100% damage to pistols for 16 seconds. And this is a cheap Arcane. I can't get rid of this stuff. I have tons of them. But take a look at this. See any buff? Nope. The problem is that with weapons such as the Plinx that use a gimmick, a little energy thing to reload and all whatnot, Arcane Awakening does not bloody trigger, and that is a bit of a problem. I was fully recommending this one until I actually tested and saw that it does not work. So bear that one in mind. What we're going to be using in this case is double Arcane Precisions, and you might be wondering, do they actually stack? Well, while the UI, the buff bar at the upper right corner, does not support and does not show you the separate instances of this Arcane procking, we fully tested this one in the LGV clan. They do proc separately and they do stack, so bear that one in mind. Alright, we're gonna be testing the weapon like this. We're gonna even unpause them for kicks and giggles. Activate Mirage's free ability for a massive damage increase, and we're also gonna be activating her lovely clones. Now let's see what kind of damage the Plinx can do. Now I know this seems very impressive for an MR6 weapon, but bear in mind that I'm using some rather extreme Warframe buffs, and as you can see, I'm into one-shot territory with the Plinx. You can one-shot these high-level targets if you have the Arcanes and if you have the extreme buffs. Just keep in mind that a build such as this, when it comes to Mirage, is gonna be fairly squishy against level 120 Corrupted Heavy Gunner. You are gonna be getting some damage mitigation from the clones, as some of these targets will start attacking your clones, but as soon as they hit you, you're gonna fold quite quickly, so bear that one in mind. You can use Chroma, of course, because Chroma has a lot more survivability and he can provide a huge damage increase as well. But Chroma does not have this, so bear that one in mind. Guys, I think that's pretty much it for the Plinx. For an MR6 weapon, it is pretty good. As an endgame weapon, I simply cannot endorse it, however. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you have any feedback for me, then by all means, leave it in the comment section down below. Now, I can't realistically promise you that it'll be done by next time or even within a week, because these things take a bit of time to make, but I will be reading through each and every comment. You can also find me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. Until next time, my friends. Bye-bye.